Hello, everybody. Welcome to VML Season 13. My name's Haiyue. I'm here with Nicole Callahan, and we are sponsored by Wizards because Nicole, it's throwback stream today.
It is. Throwback Sunday, is it?
I guess throwback. Yeah, that's the trend, right? Honestly, Throwback Thursday is now such an old trend that it is itself a throwback.
I think you're right. Like, can we use the term OG? Is that a
Yeah.
thing? Yeah. So.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Nicole and I have been here from the beginning. And I mean, we were talking, wow, 13 seasons. It sounds like a long time, but in real time, it's like 3 years or something,
Yeah,
4 years.
What,
Something like that.
It's been 4.5 years. It was like spring 2020, I think we were around. So, although a lot of things got lost, 2020 was a year that's still going, I'm pretty sure.
Certainly one of the years of all time.
Yes.
And here we are. So, I mean, obviously the world is a completely different place. Magic is a pretty different place. I think, Nicole, for those of us who've been here forever, I think we were pretty proud to see what we've done and like some of the effects that our dinky little tournament has had in the world. We're both sporting our Team Arclight shirts, which is, by the way, a team that no longer exists.
But the jerseys are really comfortable.
But the jerseys are great.
And we're looking sharp.
Yeah, so incredible. Oh, all right. Nicole, you looking forward to some Standard today? First week of Duskmourn Standard.
I am. I cannot wait to see the impact that Duskmourn makes on this Standard format, especially with a big tournament like Worlds coming up at the end of this month. Because we're in October already. It's spooky season. We've got it's season 13. It's we planned it that way. So
yes, Definitely. 100% planned.
So very
Um,
interesting when a
Completely,
new set
totally on purpose by accident.
completely. We weren't just lucky or unlucky or anything like that. So,
mm-mm.
but it's definitely
Uh,
interesting when a new set comes out to see what kind of impact it will have on standard. Sometimes it throws the format on its head, and sometimes it kind of just goes in with a little whisper, just kind of like a passing ghost, you know?
yeah, maybe a friendly ghost.
Maybe.
Oh, maybe. All right. Well, let's have a look at the metagame and see where we ended up, whether, how big of an impact it has. Okay, immediately I still see domain ramp right up there. That's like not even from this standard.
Right? It's like the ghost that never goes away. So,
Yeah.
Domain it got some huge tools from Duskmourn, most notably the new Overlord. So that has been a big tool for old Domain ramp decks. Turn 3, being able to ramp up, get a land that just gives you Domain. Like, why does it have to have every land type? It does. I don't know why, but that's what it is. So
Oh
Domain never
yeah.
ever gonna go away. Domain is here to stay. It's
It's here forever.
Atraxa is going to haunt us all until rotation. And then further, because Atraxa is gonna be like, yeah, I'll just hang out in like Pioneer or something in the Transmogrify decks. So so
Okay, now I'm interested.
right?
now, now you've got me going. Um, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That sounds pretty sick. So yeah, the main ramp definitely still up there. Gruul Prowess. I think the last couple of weeks we've seen Gruul Prowess kind of rise up the ranks really before you know, it started out kind of as this like second, third tier deck, and now all the way at the top.
Yeah, we saw a lot of people like favoring sort of that Boros token control, the people that wanted to do the Boros Convoke thing, but kind of moved towards that control deck that still wanted to be aggressive and just with domain getting such a pump, a deck like Rule Prowess that can just kill you on turns 4 if you don't do
Mm.
anything. It was very appealing and I think a great choice in this metagame here. So Rule Prowess, there's a good reason that it's the most popular deck this week.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm excited to see some magic. So let's go down to the first game and see who we're going to be watching. We have Sophie Miller from Division number 13. Oh, Division number 13.
That
Apt.
plan that.
It was totally planned in every way. Extremely planned. All right. And what has Sophie brought? Sophie has brought mono white token control. Okay, so this deck, Nicole, Caretaker's Talent. What a card.
That is probably, I would say, the biggest impact from Bloomborough. And obviously we know Bloomborough brought along a rotation, and that's when we started to see the Boros token control deck. And we see Sophie, she's taken that deck here and just made it mono white, kind of controlling. We see a lot of Elspeth like planeswalkers going on in there, but still a high concentration on cards that make tokens like Novice Inspector and the Caretaker's Talent, along with cards like Carrot Cake. But Archangel Elspeth also making tokens, Eternal Wanderer, also great with token making strategies. So love to see decks like this, but also able to play cards like Sunfall and not really worry because it's just a part of a card that she would be losing if she loses
Hmm.
just a few tokens and can keep her token makers in play like her planeswalkers. So I love this strategy. I love this deck. It looks great.
Yeah, I have to say, Nicole, I really do associate you with mono white deck, so that makes a lot of sense. Let's see who Sophie's playing against, and it looks like it's going to be a Lily. So Lily, currently on the 2-1 record, so both of these players doing very well. Lily has brought Dimir Midrange. So, and you can see that Lily has actually been metagaming a bit. She says, my opponent has been on mono white control the past couple of weeks. So I figured she would probably play that, especially with the RC coming up. So it's like, this is like even beyond the VML meta.
Right.
The players they're just all up in each other's business. I love it.
Right.
And thinks that Dimir Mid is going to just do really well with a new flash threat in Enduring Curiosity.
Yes, Enduring Curiosity. It's a 2/2 enchantment creature. It's a cat glimmer. It's a 4/3 with flash. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. And if it dies, if it was a creature, you return to the battlefield as an enchantment. So it's just saying, every time any creature deals combat damage, you draw a card, which is great against these.
Wait,
What's up?
Nicole.
Oh no.
They didn't put once a turn on this.
They did not put once a turn. It's just like if Lily wants to just kind of like get in with all these little like Dimir tempo 1-1-2-1-1-1 like deep cavern bat, steal a card from your opponent, attack, gain 1, draw a card. Sounds pretty good. I love the value.
Yeah, that's insane. Okay, all right, okay, sure. Yeah, I'm on board.
And that's a lot of
Go
what
ahead.
this deck does. This deck with Gix, Yawgmoth, Praetor, which is a card that's been in standard and we've seen in a lot of these sort of like Dimir, like tempo-y mid-range decks, is just, deal a damage, draw a card, deal damage, draw a card. And the card advantage of this deck, cannot be overstated. So definitely a great strategy against the mono white token control. Let's see if it pays off.
All right, well, let's go down to the action. We are going to have first of all, our awesome new overlay, which I don't know if you've seen yet, Nicole, but it's pretty sweet.
It is pretty great. I love it.
I think possibly we are seeing a match from later on in time. So let's just figure out where that's going to be. Let's come back to the booth for a bit.
Yeah, that was
no
me.
worries.
Sorry.
Don't worry. Don't
But back to our cool jerseys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't miss any chance to show them off. All right, we'll just get that fixed up for you all. And Nicole, as we get all right, here we go. All right, that one's gonna be a mulligan for Sophie. Yeah, now this one is a 1-lander on the play. Has a novice inspector. You going to 5 here?
I think you have. I think you have to go to 5. It's painful, but I think Sophie made the right choice. Even though you look at this now 1-lander, you go, wait, give me the 6 back. But
right,
same idea. Get out on the battlefield. Any land here makes this hand good. And hey, Beza can get you caught up real quick. Cards in hand and lands on the battlefield.
Right. I mean, this hand with Get Lost. Oh, there's a second land, so already doing pretty well. And with that second land, she can at least crack the clue, right?
Yes, and seeing what she wants to do here, we'll see if Lily plays out a threat that would be worth playing Get Lost against. Deep Cavern Bat, probably say, okay, you can look at my hand, Get Lost in response. Get Lost, making the map tokens against a deck with multiple threats like Lily's doesn't feel great from Sophie's side. Giving Lily more things to work with, more resources, never a good thing for any of these tempo decks, but I like Sophie's play there. Keep the battlefield as clean and clear as possible. Gonna get in with that novice inspector, but no 3rd land yet.
It's the classic 20-turn clock here for Sophie.
Yes. It's all right. We have a while as we see Spyglass Siren coming down. So Lily, with an abundance of map tokens, going to start cracking those. We'll see the top of Lily's deck.
I love these map tokens. I mean, they've really done a good job, I think, with these value-producing tokens in recent times. Speaking of, here's a Novice Inspector number 2 for Sophie. And, what other than lands, is there anything else that they could see that they're like not upset about?
Honestly, I think it's just lands. I think Sophie would be pretty happy almost drawing lands just continuously for the rest of the game. Like being able to Caretaker's Talent and level up, being able to Archangel Elspeth, being able to Beza and get some creatures, get some, be able to draw cards, Sunfall to clear out whatever Lily's going to be doing here. I think Sophie would be happy if she just drew land. So
that makes a lot of sense to me. And Lily, on the value train, you were talking about this earlier when we were thinking about the decks, but Spyglass Siren down and then follow up with the gigs, do some combat damage, draw a card, make some maps. I mean, Lily's just doing everything she wants.
Yes. And Sophie said, well, that's missing my 3rd land drop again. Can't do anything. Knows to pack it in and save your mental fortitude for games 2 and hopefully 3 for Sophie here.
All right, we're going to see Sophie sideboarding. See, temporary lockdowns are coming in. I think some number of ossifications came in as well. Now, what's not quite as good in this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see cards like Rest in Peace, Destroy Evil, not necessary. Elish Norn, definitely very clunky card here. We see also Sophie getting rid of the Elspeths. The Eternal Wanderers here. Just such a clunky big card against these tempo decks. If it even resolves before Lily is able to either Thoughtseize it with a bat or be able to counter it or something like that with 3 steps ahead or a Phantom Interference or something like that. So just keep that curve low, get out onto the battlefield, like keep that battlefield controlled. I think that's what Sophie wants to do here. Keep it clear and keep it under control. That's why it's a control deck.
Honestly, Sophie is doing exactly that, just dropping the curve as much as possible. Oh no. Okay, all right.
Right.
I mean, the two of us were a bit like, oh no, not again,
no.
Sophie. Surely not. But it's fine. Okay, this one looks like it's very much keepable. The Elspeth Smite out the sideboard there. We saw Builder's Talent plus Get Lost. So really is a control deck in every way that matters.
Yes, and like having that removal early here, I love the Novice Inspector. Actually, just a great draw here. I love being able to make sure that you keep drawing cards. As we saw, Lily's deck definitely big on the card advantage. So Sophie being able to keep up with that is going to be key here, especially on the mulligan to 6, as we see Lily thinking about what to do here with 8 cards in hand.
Yeah, that's it's honestly this Dimir deck. It really just feels like almost anything could happen, and yet it's almost always the bat.
Yes. It's just, what should I do here? It's just bad.
It's the bat. So Lily's gonna take a look at Sophie's hand. Gets to choose one of these. Gets to go, exile it under the bat. Doesn't get to put it in her deck for the next game.
That would be fun. That would
we
make
should just have a bat game league one time. Maybe for April Fools or something.
Just every week, just put in a new, whatever you stole from your opponent.
Yeah. Bat season.
I'm in. Sign me up.
Oh my goodness.
Look. We know.
Yeah. Bat season has come early for Lily.
Yes, Bat's already. But Lily's already playing the bat season. Lily is here for bat season. What is that group of bats called?
Oh, that's a great question. What is a group of bats called?
I don't know, but if I were to give a guess, it would peak the microphone.
It would probably be something. It's going to be something esoteric, It'd be like, I don't know, a webbing of bats or something. Something.
Yeah. It's that's a little more boring. All right, I had to Google it. It is a colony, a colony of bats. I feel like that's
wow. Yeah, can we apply to change that? Like,
yeah, I think so. I think if you put it on the internet enough, AI will change its mind. So, right? Is that how it works?
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Okay. So we just need to get like 10,000 people to tweet, like a collective of a bat is like, I don't know,
a spook.
A spook. Yeah,
a
love
spook
it.
of bats. I like it.
Yeah. Okay, well, here is Builder's Talent from Sophie. Had used that temporary lockdown to get rid of those bats as well as the Novice Inspector. So it gets the removal spells back first. And what does Builder's Talent do?
Oh, Builder's Talent has the 3 levels. So when it enters, you get an 0/4 wall, which normally against like a tempo deck, you would think, great. But unfortunately, a lot of what Lily has flies. So not going to be a great blocker here, kind of just hanging out on the bottom. You can level 2 it for a single white mana. Whenever 1 or more non-creature, non-land permanents you control enter, you put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control, and you can level 3 it for 4 and a single white. And when it becomes level 3, you return a target non-creature, non-land permanent from the graveyard to the battlefield, which is usually the important part of this little saga here.
Right, because you can get your like
you want your
KateyCats talents and your like temporary lockdowns if they get messed up.
bring back an Archangel Elspeth if you're able to like cast it. I know the Eternal
Oh.
Wanderer is no longer here, but being able to bring back sort of like your bigger things. We've seen Builder's Talent kind of in other decks to cheat back in things like Omniscience or an Atraxa or something like that. So
Oh,
in this deck,
okay.
not that
Yeah.
it's a small ball, but it's usually a little less concentrated as we see. Get Lost, man. All the map tokens for Lily in every game, though.
Right. I mean, I like get lost. I get it. Right. I understand. It does a lot of things that you want it to do, etc. But I'm just like, as a limited player, it just really makes me feel like, oh, I have to give you two map tokens. It's so
That's so
much value.
many.
It's so many. And Sophie's going from screw to flood a little bit. We need to find some action here.
Yes, as we see Lily able to flash in that mastermind, that's a lot of pressure in the air here. And Sophie just kind of has that 0-4. It does have the Elspeth Smite in hand. Lily knows about that, though.
Yeah. Sophie, I get, like, I definitely admire the using the mana every turn, and they're kind of really doing a great job of keeping this board at bay. But Lily's deck just seems to be, Lily's just churning through her deck right now.
Yes, and we see there's another map crack and revealing 3 steps ahead on top. So able to get that single Spyglass Siren out of Elspeth's Smite range is really big here for Lily.
Yeah, that's a huge problem now for Sophie. Is going to use the smite on the fairy mastermind. It's taking 5 here down to 11, so not in super danger yet. Oh, what a draw.
That is definitely a great draw to take care of the pressure, but it feels kind of bad, I think, with the having to lose your builder's talent. Not that it was doing too much for Sophie here anyway at the moment, but
Right. Well, it can't even really get anything, right?
no, there's not really much for Sophie to bring back from her graveyard. So we'll see her cast it. Are we going to see is this a negate.
Oh,
Negate out of
straight
Lily's
up negate.
sideboard.
I respect that. Like,
I
everyone loves all these new counter spells, all these. I was literally gonna say make disappear, and that's not even legal in standard anymore. So that just shows you where I am. But you have all these phantom interferences or what have you. Good old negate.
yeah,
Just say no.
phantom interference, make disappear. Same idea.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Now Lily's taking a second because this is a big deal. Sophie only has 1 card in hand, and Lily doesn't know what it is. So Lily's gonna push her advantage here and just keep attacking in the air and just kind of be like, you have to stop me. As we see a caretaker's talent, the draw for Sophie. It's just a question of can Sophie do enough here before Lily ends this game? And I think it's gonna be a real tough go for Sophie.
Right. And the 3 steps ahead is just so. I mean, like, it's obviously the latest in the line of bad cryptic commands, but it's still a cryptic command. It still does the thing.
It is. It is. And we wonder here if Lily's just sort of picking modes and looking to copy a creature. Oh, wait. No, sorry. That's only 5 that's available. So can draw 2 and discard and counter this, which is pretty
Right.
good. That's a lot of value.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I think I mean, it's also possible that they have something else in hand. Right? Like the
For sure.
Oh.
I think you're right. I think Lily's going, how do I lose this game? And is Lily going to lose this game to Caretaker's talent? No, like not
Right.
by itself. So letting that go and holding on to the 3 steps ahead, I think is a great play. It's like looking ahead to the next 2 and 3 turns. We see Phantom Interference gonna make a 2/2 here, and that's gonna be enough in the air.
Yeah, that is it. That's yeah, Nicole, you make a great point. Like, I think a lot of time when you play counter spells and you see something, you're just like, big blue button meme, kind of just like just see anything on counter.
Right.
But I really, really admire that Lily took the time to think, actually, how can I lose this game? And is it this specific card? Because if it's not, then there's no need to counter it. And we're going to see Lily take away the win there and advance to 3-1 in Division 13. So that is a great record to be in halfway through the round robin portion of the season. So we are in week 4, 3 weeks of play left until we see the cut to top 48. The numbers keep changing.
Yeah, we're gonna do that wild card week in there. So it's the
Mhm.
32, and then whoever the following 16 people are for those wild card spots. Highly coveted.
Yeah, definitely. And it is the last season of the year as well. So we do have the VML championships coming up in the first week of December, second week of December, and that is where you get to fight for 2 Pro Tour slots. So the top 8 of each season gets their invite. So for the players who haven't gotten their invite yet to the VML championships, this is the time to do it. And so everyone's going to be really trying to fight for those spots, Nicole.
Yeah, I would love one myself, to be honest with you. So
Are you playing this season?
I am.
Oh, how are you
So
doing?
I actually I haven't played my match this week yet, but so
Okay. Okay.
I wasn't gonna say anything earlier, but I'm one of the bad people playing domain ramp still. So
Wow. Just
it's
burying the lead.
that was me. It was me. I was one of those.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Well, Nicole, good luck. I hope you managed to do well. And let's have a look at our second feature match of the evening. And we have on the one side Atomic Alchemical, and they are bringing Team Storm. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness is right. This is such a wild deck. I love seeing this one in action. People kind of figured this out early. I saw a lot of content creators playing versions of this deck on like the early access of Duskmourn, and just playing the Storm Splitter, which is the 4-mana 1/4 otter with haste. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you create a token that's a copy of Storm Splitter, and they exile at the beginning of the next end step, and they just have gone wild. So I've seen it called Temur Storm. I believe Atomic is calling it Otter Storm, and I think that's the common nomenclature for it. So it's been pretty wild with Enduring Vitality, which is similar to the card from the Dimir midrange deck, in that it is an enchantment creature that becomes an enchantment if you do kill it. It's 1 green with vigilance, 3/3, and it gives creatures you control a tap, add 1 mana of any color. So that kind of lets people go crazy, making a million copies of Storm Splitter and being able to tap them for mana to create more copies and do more things and cast more spells and just kill your opponent. So it's pretty wild.
Okay, this sounds great. I love it.
Yes.
I'm sold. All right, let's see.
I hope we get to see this one explode. At least once.
In a good way.
In a good way. Yes.
All right.
Not implode. Not implode. Explode.
Not implode. Okay, so okay.
On the
All
way
right,
out.
And so let's see who they're playing against. Oh, it's Boros Aggro in the hands of KateyCats, and she has brought a pretty interesting Boros Aggro. This is actually a very new version of Boros Aggro, which plays a new card, Optimistic Scavenger, which is the 1/1 that whenever an enchantment you control enters, and whenever you fully unlock a room, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And she's got some of the mice going, got a bit of Inti going, got a bit of Phyrexian Dragon Engine going. What is happening here?
So we see that the goal of this deck is just put counters on everything, make all of your creatures huge, and attack with them. That's so the Phyrexian Dragon Engine is, I feel like, a fun addition. Having double strike, makes it just great. I don't believe that let me see. It's a 3 mana. Yeah, double strike 2/2. Putting a counter on that, making it a double striking 3/3, or even bigger with cards like Inti that adds counters. Fear of missing out, giving you extra combat phases. Scavenger, Heartfire Hero, Ember Heart Challenger, all adding counters, making your creatures huge, and being able to protect your creatures with cards like Sheltered by Ghosts, giving them ward and also lifelink to kind of keep you in things. I love this deck. I think it's a lot of fun, and this I don't know which deck is more explosive, if the Storm deck or this Boros aggro deck, because this is like an all-in, put counters on all my things and kill you on, again, a turn 4. We see this a similar strategy to like the Gruul stompy aggro decks that we've been seeing, where they just want to get a couple creatures out on the battlefield, make them huge, and kill you with them. So we'll see if Katey will be successful with that.
Okay, all right, let's go down to the action, and we have AtomicAlchemical on the lower half of your screen, Katey on the upper half of your screen. That looks like a pretty interesting hand with Heartfire Hero, Double Fear of Missing Out, and the Sheltered by Ghosts, and AtomicAlchemical with also a pretty sweet one, though no red mana just yet, unless we're counting that Enduring Vitality.
Yeah, without the red, it definitely makes it a little tough. Say its name will allow you to return either a creature or a land from the graveyard to the battlefield after milling 3, but that might be a little bit slow. I'm not sure that Atomic has time to do that, but we'll see what they decide to do here. Because also mulliganing with this deck, doesn't feel great because Atomic needs the material. Atomic needs those resources to be able to have their deck do what it does. I think Katey, again, like you had said, just an absolute snap keep. Having both of her colors, the Restless Bivouac, just on turn 1, playing that out, and just playing an untapped land after that, and it's just exploding. So we'll see if the Heartfire Hero comes out here first, or if Restless Bivouac will be the first play.
All right, so it is going to be a keep from Atomic, and then it's going to be Heartfire Hero for Katey.
Yeah, this might be a tough one for Atomic if they don't see any red mana here. And that looks like a miss.
It is a land, at least, so we could maybe get something going with the Enduring Vitality, get some creatures down, but no red source just yet. As for Katey, this is not what Atomic wants to see. Straight away with the Monster's Rage, down to 15 already.
Yeah, not at all. Heartfire Hero definitely putting down a beating, and doesn't feel great to be in Atomic shoes right now.
Oh, is that Torch the Tower as well?
That is a Torch to the Tower at Katey's disposal, and we see it Sheltered by a Ghost, though. Just anything Katey wants, Katey has. So Sheltered by Ghost, being able to take that Enduring Vitality without it becoming an enchantment too, that's got to feel bad from Atomic's side, as we see yet another turn with no red mana. This deck needs to have all of its colors to be able to go off, and Atomic lacking at 10 life. I don't know if there's going to be enough time to get back into this, and Atomic agrees. Yikes.
That's not gonna do it. They say, let's move on to the next one. And they did tell us in their questionnaire, they said, if I need to start with the red source, I need to start with Torch the Tower. Did not manage to do that, and Heartfire Hero plus Friends got that for Katey. And actually, I just really didn't realize how great Sheltered by Ghost was for the heroic deck specifically.
No, it is a fantastic card to be able to give ward, to be able to exile something that might be clogging up the battlefield, and like the +1/+0 feels great too. That it even just gives the littlest bit of a buff on top of, because a lot of these cards it would just give it a buff anyway, whether or not Sheltered by Ghost had that extra +1/+0, and then being able to have lifelink, to cushion a little bit. I would imagine would be super helpful in things like the mirror, or against like a Gruul aggro deck. So it's a great card, and definitely a good tool for these Boros aggro decks.
All right, just having a look at the changes here for Atomic. Thinking about Paw Patch formation. Thinking about some of these other cards. It's interesting how, a card like Pyroclasm just doesn't do anything.
Right. Pyroclasm, dealing 2, you're like, oh, that's great. It's against these little, like, what? But the creatures, by the time you can cast it, even at 2 mana, it's just the creatures have outgrown that Pyroclasm, or they're not getting that much value out of it. Maybe it kills 1 creature out of their 3 or something like that. So it doesn't feel great.
Yeah, I have to say, like, if for anyone who is a fan of Vintage Cube, like if you've drafted the Storm deck, you do not want to pair against the Boros aggro player.
Right.
You know?
And we'll see. Like, I do like the moves that Katie is making here, shaving a couple of the Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Look at that curve. Look at all those 2 drops. Just getting down, getting on the battlefield, and getting the job done.
Okay, well, let's have a look at the opening hands here for game number 2. Katie just has to win this one to take home the victory, and Atomic has to win 2 on the trot, but this one is looking a lot better. There's the red source, there's the Torture Tower, and there is Atomic immediately getting rid of that 1 drop.
Yes, I think this is going to be a much different game forward. Having just the 3 creatures, but no enablers in hand for Katie. And we see Atomic having all of their colors here, able to actually do things, cards like Sleight of Hand, being able to kind of go through the deck and filter through and get the resources that they need to storm off.
Yeah, well, Katie is going to start coming in, though, with the Ember Heart Challenger number 1. Questing Druid doesn't find any lands. There's no land from off the top either.
Oh, that's definitely painful, as we saw Atomic missing a color last game, missing a 3rd land drop here. Analyze the Pollen might be able to help, but seeing the copy of Enduring Vitality go feels it's pretty painful. We'll see Analyze the Pollen here.
Well, I mean, at least Atomic can get a land and make the land drop.
Yes, as we see, this deck definitely needs a good. Storm Splitter costs 4 on its own, so Atomic
Right.
needs to get that card out on the battlefield in order to do anything. It needs to stay alive, and then they can start sort of building on top of it, as we see Katie just absolutely unloading into a great draw and off to the races once again.
I love Inti. Such a great card. And yeah, getting to cycle through the deck, pitching some lands, exiling some lands. I think you're not going to be complaining about exiling some lands if you're Katie.
Yes. We see that paw patch formation hanging out in Atomic's hand. Sleight of hand here. Digging, needs to keep digging. Atomic drew that 4th land, which was great, but it came in tapped. So that is not going to help here as we see things go back to Katie.
Yeah, well, Atomic gets to hold up cease and desist. Oh my goodness. This is the thing, right? Like, we feel like Katie didn't have a great start, right? Still hasn't really drawn any of the enablers, any really of the enchantment makers or the scavenger or anything. But ultimately, like when you're playing this kind of storm deck, sometimes you just cannot even really deal with a bunch of 1s and 2s.
Yeah, and just able to make use out of every card in her hand. As we see, Katie, totally empty-handed, has the mountain off of the NT trigger. And Atomic is just here with 3 cards in hand and can't do anything about it. And that's a lot of damage coming across. I don't know that there's a card in Atomic's deck that helps enough here.
Yeah, it is going to be GG. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see the Storm deck really go off, but great stuff there from KateyCats advancing to 3-1 with Boros Aggro. And, I think it's interesting. The aggro decks in this format, there's a lot of different ways you can build them, Nicole.
Yes, it's like I said, the Boros aggro is somewhat similar to the Gruul aggro decks, where you see just a smaller creature, 1/2s, and you just boggle that one up. You just kind of build, hope to protect it with like royal treatments and things like that, and hope that you can get through. Same idea, sort of, with the Boros aggro deck. You're just looking to make it big, get it through, shelter by ghost, take care of anything that's on the battlefield, and you get that damage across. We've seen mono red. We've seen sort of like I see the Boros token control decks. I know they call them control decks, but they can absolutely make have a turn 4 Beza and just like attack for 1,000,000. So it's definitely a really healthy standard format where I think you could find any deck you'd want to play.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And speaking of, let's look at the next couple of players we have in the future match area today. We have Tess from Division 15 at 3-0, so clean record thus far, very impressive, with Golgari midrange, saying that her opponent has been on a variety of strategies and she wanted something flexible with answers touching most of the format and with Golgari midrange. Now, Golgari has really been the most popular deck, I think, of Season 13 so far, maybe falling off a little bit this week, but still formidable, Nicole.
Yeah, it's Golgari has been nothing if not consistent. Like that, I think that's the appeal for mid-range decks throughout everything. You play great creatures, you get good value off of your cards, and everything is consistent. You're not dealing with like a wonky like mana base. Your mana is great. I think the consistency of mid-range decks, particularly Golgari, because it wasn't affected by rotation. So everybody was like, Golgari mid-range is a great deck to invest in and a great deck to play, and it's been competitive throughout for quite some time now. So it's never a bad choice.
Right. And sometimes that's what you want, right? You just want some consistency, especially if you know exactly what your deck is doing. Maybe your opponent, does some zigzagging, brings something a little bit unexpected. You kind of just want the deck that is going to do the thing a lot of the time. And that's why we see so many great players kind of gravitate towards these strategies. Let's have a look at what Tess's opponent brought this week. It is Aspi. Aspi also 3-0. So these are the two top players in Division 15 right now. And Aspi, I believe, top 8 at the last season. So certainly very, very good player. And she has brought Jeskai Convoke out. This deck makes me laugh so much,
Yes.
Nicole, because it's like, Boros Convoke was this thing, and everyone was like, oh yeah, the mana was kind of bad, when Boros Convoke was a thing. And then they were like, let's just splash a 1-drop.
Right.
Instead. And somehow the mana is better.
Right. It's like we fixed it by adding more colors. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna question it. I'm just gonna go with it. But honestly, this deck's great. And I love seeing the return of Warrior's Call, which is a card that we saw when Boros Convoke started. And then it kind of got phased out for other threats and things. And now it's been coming back. And I think Warrior's Call is a super powerful card out on the battlefield and a great choice as far as being able to impact what's going on and get across with the against these Golgari mid-range decks, against mid-range decks in general, because without attacking, you can still deal damage. So I love seeing that card in play. I love seeing 3 of them in the main deck. I think it's a super strong, super smart choice from Aspi to be playing that this week. And yeah, I mean, Spyglass Sirens are here and they're cool too, I guess. So,
They're very cool.
I know. I love the card. We saw Spyglass Siren doing work earlier. It might have been in a Dimir tempo deck, but the card's great. I have the utmost confidence that Aspi knows what she is doing. And I mean,
this deck is. I have seen this deck work. And by that I mean, like, last time I saw it, it was the same. I had the same reaction. I was like, "Come on, what have you done?" But this deck genuinely works and it's great. And let's get out to the action because we're gonna find out together how it was between these two strategies. Honestly, Nicole, this is why I love casting with you because it's really funny. You're like, the cards I love, War Leader's Call.
Right. I'm here for War Leader's Call.
This is why Magic is great because there's something for everyone. Even if your award leaders call in previous.
Listen, you can have your Spyglass Sirens. I got my War Leaders call, and we'll both come together for this Jeskai deck.
Okay, all right.
Can we at least agree on Gleeful Demolition then? Because that card is good with Spyglass Siren and War Leader's call.
Yeah, I let's agree on Gleeful Demolition. I love the shenanigans of destroying your own thing. It's just, marginal value. That's my favorite.
I'm here for
all right, let's talk about what's happening in this game.
Yes.
With the opening hand, cut down, go for the throat, Vraska, Dread Knight, and Sentinel. Just a classic Golgari opening hand. Really has a lot going on. I mean, this deck is so sweet. Yes,
it definitely has a lot of value. I might be in the minority. I'm going to do this again. I might be in the minority here. The Vraska, Innkeeper's Talent combo, I feel like a lot of people are up in arms about it. I don't feel like it's as good as people made it out to be. I think it's a solid plan B win condition, but a lot of people were taking this Golgari midrange deck and being like, we're going to win with this combo. But why do that when you have cards like Dread Knight and Sentinel that can just win you the game on their own?
Yeah, I agree, actually. I think, okay, you have to play the talent and you have to level it up. It's like a 12 mana combo or something, like in standard. And we're going to have a look at Aspi's hand along with Tess. Aspi, by the way, kept the one lander. The classic Boros Convoke, let's keep the Novice Suspector and then blow up the the clue to get goblins.
I'm here for it.
Okay, and Bat's got a choice between the Case, the Warden, the Spyglass Siren, and the Evangel.
See, this is a huge choice here because Tess knows that Aspi is on a mulligan and has mana issues, both with color for Spyglass Siren and just being able to play lands. Aspi has some pressure out on the battlefield with these goblins, only going to get in with one, as we see here. I imagine this means that we can expect a Warden with a tap to grow it, which is great. Being able to scry here, bottom, I can only assume that that was not a land, as we see that land problems taken care of. 2 lands now. What else do you need, right?
Yeah, that's perfect. The perfect number in every way. Aspi with 2 lands, Warden is down. That's going to keep getting bigger. And back over to Tess now, who finds a land for turn as well. Has a couple of options here. Sentinel could be coming down, Nicole.
Yeah, Sentinel is great. That I feel like if there was, the poster card for Golgari midrange is just Sentinel. It comes down, it makes extra resources. It's a good body, a great blocker, probably an even better attacker. It's just an all in all, just great card, a lot of value, and that's the marquee card of the Golgari midrange deck. That is exactly what this midrange deck wants to be doing, is getting that value.
Not exciting though, is it?
No, it's not. It's not the most exciting card, and I kind of like this though. Tess playing out the tap lands and going to go for the throat, taking care of any other scries that Aspi may have to keep Aspi off of any more explosiveness, and I kind of love that.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Aspi left that Warden on top, it seems, last turn, and just gonna play it out again, getting in for 1 again. So we're not off to that super fast Jeskai Convoke set that we have seen in previous iterations, but Aspi hanging on in there. And I am taking the piss a little bit, Nicole, but like these Golgari midrange decks, they really have the vibe about them. And other than Reed, I don't know who is going to bed like, oh, I can't sleep, I'm so excited, I'm gonna play Golgari midrange tomorrow.
Like with a poster of Liliana of the Veil, like right above the
okay, all right. Way to make it weird, Nicole.
What, you don't have a poster of your favorite Magic card? Just kind of like.
Okay, actually, it's not up, but VML co-founder Caroline of the Mighty Linguini did actually give me a like an art print, like this really beautiful art print of the art from Sublime Epiphany. So
Oh, I
I
love
know.
that.
Yeah, I love it too. I'm hoping to move house soon, and when I move house, I'm gonna get it framed and put up nicely.
Oh, that's awesome. See, we
So
all
actually,
have our
yes, I
favorites.
am one of
Oh,
those.
yes,
I am one of those
you
nerds.
are.
Yeah.
There is no denying.
No, there's no denying. And Tess up to 22, thanks to these bats getting in. Third bat in hand as well. There's the blue mana.
There's the blue mana. It is here. Prove me wrong.
And, well, you could tap the map token for Warden. Come on. This is sweet. You
Yes.
can't tell me this isn't sweet.
Yeah, and now a flying 4/5 Warden. So Tess down to 18 had some little life gain from those deep cavern bats, and a restless cottage to draw here. But you know, deep cavern bat not as great when your opponent has big flyers, and you are Aspi is empty-handed, so that's not going to do much. We'll see what Veraska wants to do, and it looks like going to take care of that large
Yeah.
flyer. It's a good
Yeah,
move.
you gotta. I don't think there's really much hope for Raska sticking around if you don't. And Tess says if this Raska's only job is to kill two things, I think Tess is like not unhappy.
I definitely agree. And once Aspi had all of her colors, I think Tess doesn't mind giving Aspi a treasure token as much. We'll see a map onto the Spyglass Siren. Hey, revealing another Spyglass Siren. So that will do it for
Ouch.
Vraska.
Yeah, Vraska goes down. Tess finds another land, but still has plenty of action on board. The Sentinel on the ground, plus a couple of restless cottages down there in the mana base.
Yes, those Restless Cottages might come into play here. Aspi, again, is empty-handed, is at 11 life, so a lot lower of a life total than Tess is at. It's great, and to have multiple of them, in order to get it off the battlefield, Aspi would have to trade with the Knight Errant of Eos, and that is not what she wants to do here.
Right. I mean, we were kind of expecting Tess to be on the defensive more, but I wonder at what point she's gonna think, let's get in with these cottages.
Yeah, and it looks like not right now. And I don't mind the patience, but like you said, right now, I think Tess is the beatdown. Aspi sort of on the back foot, no cards in hand. Tess with both cards in hand, even though it's a deep cavern bat in a swamp, only Tess knows that. Aspi has no idea. So Tess definitely being more aggressive here. I like it. I like, just get in with everything. The Dread Knight, I kind of love this, honestly.
Yeah, why not?
Right? Draw some
Draw more
cards.
cards. Yeah. Who doesn't love drawing cards?
Right. And especially
Nicole.
right.
I'm so unreasonable right now.
I've cast a good number of Mosswood Dread Knights where I've taken a second and been like, should I cast the adventure? Yeah, I guess. So I want that 3/2 with trample, but
I know what you're like. You're just like, it's a 2-mana 3/2 with trample. That's
right. The value.
Just smashes the vanilla test. I mean, now Aspi's getting a little bit flooded here. Spyglass Siren finds a map finds a land.
Yeah, that Terra Sunder is an interesting draw from Tess. The 4/4 has been clogging up this battlefield quite a bit on her side. So we'll see if she wants to fire that off or if she's waiting for maybe a better opportunity. Tess does have to be aware that there are cards like Imidane's Recruiter in Aspi's deck. I'm sure she is well aware. That's a scary card, if Aspi were to draw one and just get in, just alpha strike for that would be a large crackback, and something that Tess, I'm sure, wants to be ready for.
Yeah, I think, we have seen Tess kind of be a little bit reserved, and that, cards like Evidence Recruiter are a pretty good reason for that.
And we'll see Restless Cottage animating one of those kind of spyglass sirens, a 2/2 and a 1/1, you know, throwing up the blocks in the air. So not able to get in with any of those bats here, eating the warden and making a food. So that'll help with a life cushion.
Right. And I wonder if Aspi is going to do something about this cottage. Nope. Takes the damage down to 5. But Aspi doesn't have to worry about an Immodane's recruiter off the top.
Right. We see it. Tess seems to be well prepared for that. At 19 life with multiple blockers, I don't think one Immodane's recruiter would be enough here. Hey, look.
Okay. All right. Here's War Leader's Call. Nicole's favorite card.
Favorite card.
It's coming down, and now all these creatures are pumped up. The sirens are pretty significant now in size. Aspi is getting in, and Tess is still at 15, but now the prospect of something like a recruiter or even gleeful demolition can be quite scary.
Yeah, we see that Terra Sunder, being able to cast that during combat, perhaps after Aspi has made blocks, could go Tess's way. It just depends on what Tess is willing to do here, as her battlefield is just shrinking and shrinking. But we'll see Restless Cottage coming in once again.
Yeah, and this is kind of a tell, right? Like if your opponent's attacking a 4/4 into a 5/5, something's going on here.
Yeah, you go, what is happening here? This is hopefully Aspi will take a second and say, hey, the flags will go up, the lights are going off, being like, wait a second, why did this happen? Like, why would my opponent get in with a 4/4, animate their land knowingly, and get in knowing that this is the case? So
okay, well, I mean, Aspi's at 5, so definitely has to do some blocking. Makes the obvious blocks. Oh, and this is going to get absolutely destroyed by the Terra Sunder on War Leader's Call. So, Knight Errant's going to trade with the Cottage. The Sentinel's going to eat up those goblins. Aspi still stays at 5, but the board is suddenly looking a lot emptier for her.
yeah, that was a great exchange for Tess, as we saw an absolute blowout there, taking care of that War Leader's Call. And I honestly, Aspi is going to need a lot to get back into this game, and I don't even think back-to-back Immodane's Recruiter is going to be able to do it here.
Well, Battlefield Forge certainly isn't going to be helping. And Aspi, and we're back over to Tess, who finds Vraska at number 2, and that's got to lock it up. Surely.
Yeah. I think Vraska being able to take care of one of Aspi's blockers, or just honestly, I like this too. Just use the resources on the battlefield already. Just get in. You want okay getting in with the 2/2 bat and everything anyway, because this is more than a lethal attack. So going to need to block with both creatures on Aspi's side.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
bat may as well. Why not?
Right, because Aspi is unable to block the 1/1. So because otherwise she would die. So this is taking 4 and going to 1 and making those blocks. And case of the Gateway Express, just not as good when you don't have any creatures on the battlefield.
Yeah, I don't think Tess needs to worry about that one very much. And Aspi, looking for something, finds Resolute Hello.
All right.
Wait. Hold on a second. Oh no. The Dread Knight has trample, right? Oh, but the Evangelist and that treasure that Vraska turned the Warden into all of a sudden became kind of relevant.
It definitely. Well, Tess was Tess saw far enough ahead, said again, like, how do I lose this? She kept a go for the throat on top of the deck to kind of take care of anything went sideways here, which it almost kind of did. But at 18 life with Aspi at 1, that was a great turn for Aspi. And I don't know that Aspi could have hoped for anything more, but
Hmm.
these are some hefty attacks. Obviously, at 1 life, this is 4 lethal attackers getting in, going to need to chump just about each one. Can trade with the Dread Knight, but everything else is
Yeah. It's gonna die
oh,
to the trample. So Aspi is going down after a pretty long game one where she had one land for a while, two lands for it, was really stuck on lands, then ended up being flooded, and actually I think did a pretty good job to hold on that long.
yeah. No, that was well fought. There was
Mm.
definitely a chance for Aspi to get back in that one, but like we had said earlier, Golgari midrange is just a value machine. We saw getting on out to that battlefield. We saw Moss with Dread Knight die and come back like 4 times. We saw a Sentinel
Mm-hmm.
of the Nameless City just making a million map tokens, able to kind of get that value and take a look at the top of Tess's deck so that she can, go through, decide what her draws are going to be able to filter through your own draws. And I love seeing that. I do also love seeing the Vraskas coming out here, even though Vraska did a little bit of work in that first game. I don't
Mm.
think that is the norm. So usually, Boros, I'm sorry, Jeskai Convoke can be a little more explosive. So
Mm.
being able to lower the curve and kind of get those big clunky planeswalkers out of there is the right move on Tess's side.
Yeah, especially on the draw, it makes a lot of sense. And we're gonna have a look at Aspi's sideboarding as well. Invasion of Govakhan coming in. Love that card. And I mean, you've gotta love that card too, right? We can agree on this one, surely.
Yeah, I yes, Invasion of Gobakon. I mean, I've had it cast against me, and that's no fun. But when I cast it, it's fine. So
Agreed. Do you remember that dragon deck with the invasion? What was it? Like the team handshake. You
oh
guys came up
my.
with it, and it played like a dragon, and it came in and it flipped the invasion, and then there was some like shenanigan, and it was
Oh, the Alara, the Invasion of Alara, the 5-color one. No,
no, it
no,
was
I know that
it
was a
was
lot of
the
shenanigans.
it was the invasion of Govocon. It
Oh,
was
it's the
like
Invasion.
okay, well we'll have to ask Nathan the story after this somehow, like because it was just really wild and one of those classic like I think went to the went to the PT with not that deck, and then they went to the arena championships 2 weeks later with a completely new standard breaking deck. It was crazy. All
I
right.
could you imagine just having 2 decks prepped for like 2 different like
I
weeks
know.
apart? I
Yeah.
barely am like I have to set a reminder to submit my VML deck once. Somebody help.
All right. Okay, let's have a look at these hands now for both of our players. Aspi went on the mulligan. Didn't want to repeat that game number one for her. This one looking a lot better. Secret Coast, Battlefield Forge Advantage, and a bunch of great looking spells. The Gleeful Demolition, no real targets right now.
Yeah, but still, like you said, much better than the first go around that we saw from Aspi. So having all of her colors, having the 3 lands, being able to cast anything in her hand. Well, with the exception of the Gleeful Demolition, but hopefully seeing artifact on her side soon enough. And from Tess, we see just again, value cards, cheap removal, that's very flexible, and Innkeeper's talent to kind of like build for the late game, and a Sentinel, which is again a great blocker and a great attacker, especially on a board like this with a bunch of 1/1s.
All right. Well, here's Resolute Reinforcements. And Aspi says, I'm just going to follow up with War Leader's Call. May as well get rid of one of these 1/1s now for Tess, but that is the problem with spot removal when you're playing against, these token making cards.
Right. And we saw Aspi did get rid of one of the did scry to the sorry when she mulliganed the gleeful demolition to the bottom because she couldn't cast it. But with War Leader's Call, that card is just absolutely insane, and Tess doesn't really have an answer to either the gleeful demolition or more than one more threat out on the battlefield. So except for a sentinel that's a
Yeah.
3/4 kind of gumming things up. But if Aspi's able to either go wider or go bigger, Tess might be in some trouble here.
Yeah, you make a great point. I mean, both of these players not really equipped with the threats that they would be looking for. Sentinel does get in. It is the biggest presence on the battlefield right now. Let's see what Aspi can find. Are you looking for something that makes an artifact? There's something that makes an artifact, and we this border is gonna change so quickly now.
Yes, this is Aspi's go time. That is exactly the card that Aspi wanted to see here. Novice Inspector is great. Being able to get that on the battlefield, get those gleeful demolitions, get those goblins out there too. And honestly, hopefully seeing one of those Case of the Gateway Expresses or something to take care of the Sentinel before it gets too out of control with those map tokens.
Okay, and we see Aspi not doing the thing. What would be a reason to not do the thing?
Oh, I am trying to figure that out. I'm not sure because Gleeful Demolition is a sorcery. There's I don't know if there's a world where she wanted to mask what she has in her hand, or
like maybe there's somewhat in which if you draw something like Midrange Recruiter, you just go Inspector Demolition Recruiter win
without giving. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility here. Having the Battlefield Forge in hand gives 6 mana, so that would be Novice Inspector, Gleeful Demolition, and then 3 for an Imidane's Recruiter, which would leave a mana left over as well. So I think that's because honestly, are these goblins going to block? No thing on this battlefield is blocking. So I kind of love it that if she has the ability to do it all in one turn, she will. And she doesn't really have a way to like draw more as she goes along. It's going to be card for her right now. So there's nothing that she could draw right now that she could not do. I'd be tempted to just play a Novice Inspector here though, just for the clue.
Yeah, I think at this point when you already have another one for your Gleeful Demolition, it kind of makes sense, right? Because now you can actually crack this clue if you wanted to try and get closer to that kind of win out of nowhere turn that we were talking about.
Yes.
Oh, there it is.
Here it is. Now the math. See, I don't know if we do math because that's not my thing, but I don't know if it's enough. It's going to be close.
Okay. So let's see. Gleeful Demolition. Okay, Tess is a 16. Demolition is doing 3 from the War Leader's Call plus Recruiter. That's another 4. So Tess at 12 at the beginning of combat, and then can block one thing. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's almost lethal.
I think you're right. Now, there is a Restless Cottage back too. And Tess has nothing to do. Tess has 4 lands in hand. So I don't know that Tess is even Tess can crack this and still have the ability to activate the Restless Cottage. Tranquil Frillback is also an answer for that World Reader's Call. So it is go time for Aspi, whether she knows it or not, and also at 3 life. So I wonder if Tess kind of figured out what's going on here. So
I think Aspi's just hoping to draw something else. Oh,
that's a lot.
Does that go any target? Does that go face? That doesn't
No, it's just any creature. That's 3, 4, 5. That would only be 6 creatures. So
yeah, I don't think that's killing the Sentinel.
No, but the Sentinel will have to block, so it would kill it maybe post-combat if Tess doesn't die.
Right, but I don't think Tess dies here. Right? Here's okay.
No.
Let's all find out together because
Yeah.
recruiters. Oh no, but they're not 2 power. They're 3 power because of recruiter.
Because of
Oh, so
recruiter,
Tess
yes.
might die here.
Yes. So Tess has the Sentinel and the Restless Cottage. With the Imidane's recruiter, that's 3. That's
Right,
5.
but they're all the same. They're all the same amount of. I mean, the recruiter itself is the biggest,
Yeah, at
right? So
4
you block
power.
recruiter, right? You block recruiter, block another 3, and then
I think she would
12.
take 12. I think she
It's
takes 12.
12.
Yes. And then
Oh no, but recruiter's doing one when it comes in.
oh, that's right. You are correct. So I think Aspi is also doing that math right now that we just did. So
Yeah, I think Aski's just making double sure, extra sure. Like, okay,
right.
I'm a, I'm a game down. I need to make sure that I count this correctly. I think it's correct. I mean, we think it's correct. What does Fountain Port do? Does Fountain Port change the maths? I don't think so,
Because
right?
with Fountain Port you have to pay. Actually, with Fountain Port you have to pay a life to make a fish that would chump block anyway. And at least the Restless Cottage would eat something here. So I think that might be the better play, even though Tess doesn't, there's a Gateway Express in hand, but I imagine that would probably kill the Sentinel.
Right.
At
And
post
honestly,
combat.
I mean, we obviously know Tessa's full lands, right? But Aspi
Right.
doesn't know that
Right.
Tessa, like, from Aspi's perspective, this could be cut down, go for the throat, and then, things are really bad. But I think this is just so sweet here. Aspi at 3 lives says, I have to go for it. It looks like exactsies to me if you have nothing.
And I love this like next level magic of Aspi thinking turns and turns ahead and knowing like I need to think like we both saw Aspi holding that novice inspector and the gleeful demolition and went, why did Aspi do that? Why did she do that? And Aspi was already like 3 turns ahead with she said,
Right.
this is the board, this is what I have to do to win. I'm gonna play to what I need to play to win this game. And she knew that the Sentinel was a problem. How do I beat this? And she drew to the card that she needed. She played to the card that she needed. That's like she made her own luck in that way. People are like, oh, so lucky, so lucky. And it's
so
like,
great. No, that's just what great players do. Like,
yes,
when you watch really good players, like they just like they just think so far and they think, okay, how can I lose? Or in this case, what's my only winning line? Right? Like, what is the way that I can win from this spot, which looks kind of bad for me?
right.
And she did it.
Yeah, she did. That was just brilliantly played. Aspi again, like, how do I win? Not how do I not lose? Aspi wasn't throwing goblins away, chump blocking a 6/7 sentinel because she's never going to win the game that way. So I love seeing that. It was absolutely like brilliant play from Aspi, our Jeskai Convoke player, and I'm excited to see game number 3 here.
Yeah, me too. What a match it has been. And Nicole, I have to give it to you. War Leader's Call. It's doing the job.
Yes, it won that game.
It is doing the job. Yeah, on the draw I can see taking it out. Like it is a bit clunky and it doesn't make bodies. I kind of love this. Maybe bringing in the Protect Negotiators. See, that's the kind of card I love.
Protect the Negotiators. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a counter spell. He doesn't. Oh my goodness, what is this?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Choking miasma.
Did someone forget to take the bins out? Like, getting kind of stinky in here.
That is quite a hand. That is a hand of the week. We got trips. As you
Just
see,
the hand of the week. The no double black choking miasma.
I could only imagine, like, the Dread Knight's good, but you don't really want to be drawing cards with this in this matchup. But I can definitely see Tess just feeling like pressed into keeping this hand at the same time.
Right. It is tough. It's tough because you're on the draw. You want choking miasma, right? Like,
right.
That is a great card for you.
Yeah, it's a great card. It's a good card in this matchup. the Boros Convoke deck doesn't tend to grow their creatures too big, too
Hmm.
quick, and it tends to have the toughness kind of sort of stay the same. So we'll
Right.
see. We'll see if it works out in Tessa's favor, if she's able to find her second black source, or if
Oh,
Aspi is going to run away with this one, as we see a handful of gas on Aspi's side.
yeah. Resolute reinforcements could come down in the end step. There's the case. There's the knight, the recruiter, the bully. I mean, honestly, Aspi really does have it all. And if I'm in Tessa's seat and I play a bat and I see this hand, I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, and you go from Tessa's side. Tess is looking at the war leader's call and the case, and it's just like I can't do anything about either of these cards if they hit the battlefield. The Imidane's Recruiter and Knight Errant being two of the best, if not the two best threats, honestly, in Aspi's deck. So this is quite a choice with Deep Cavern Bat. What to do here? It's two cards that Tess can't really handle once they're out on the battlefield, or two cards in Knight Errant or Imidane's Recruiter that can end the game by themselves.
Yeah, it's not easy here for Tess in game number 3. And Aspi just finds land for the turn, but the it just has a lot of options right now. Knight Errant could be convoked for 3.
And it looks like that is what Aspie is looking to do here. And I love this play. I love, digging a little deeper, building up the board a little more. Tess getting out of the gates a little slower here. Aspie saying, I'm going to just build on my advantage. I'm going to keep my card advantage up. I'm going to keep the threats coming down, as we see here, drawing. Finding not one but two 1-drops off of that Knight Errant of Eos. So an all around great play and the right play from Aspie here.
Oh, still no second black source for Tess. Finds another bat. Has a go for the throat. But these miasmas, they're great for all the little dogs, right? But
Yeah.
the warden's gonna get bigger. The knight itself is pretty big already. It's tough.
Yeah, it definitely is. The Tess is in a real tough spot here, as we see it, that second back taking the war leader's call. So keeping everything from getting pumped just from the enchantment. Again, a very hard card for Tess to deal with once it's hit the battlefield. But Imidane's Recruiter coming down next turn isn't that great either, with these little 1/1 flyers and, a recurring 3/2. But Imidane's Recruiter on its own is a huge attack next turn, with that and Spyglass Siren. And we'll see if Aspie is just going to absolutely unload onto the battlefield here, or is she happy with the board that she's built. Um, but I
Right.
can't imagine
It's
holding it.
tough. No, I mean it's pretty tough here, but we've seen Aspie be patient before, and everyone talks about. I think there's this misconception, maybe let's call it, that aggro decks are easy to play, or you just turn them sideways, or whatever it is. And actually, as someone who doesn't play a lot of aggro decks, whenever I see the good aggro players play, I'm like, wow, this is not easy, right?
It,
Like,
it
there's a reason that they do really well with these decks over and over again.
it certainly isn't not an easy deck to pilot. There are definitely a lot of the small decisions that happen in these aggro decks win and lose you the game, as we saw in game 2 with Aspie, holding the Gleeful Demolition and the Novice Inspector. And as we see here, Aspie again holding an Imidane's Recruiter instead of just firing it off and just getting in and alpha striking with everything. Aspie is making these little decisions here and there and putting on an absolute masterclass on how to play a Convoke deck. And in Standard is just playing out. As we see, Tess does draw the Swamp here, though.
Hmm. The swamp is a swamp definitely is something that Tess is looking for, but it's also awkward, right? Like, the board has kind of gotten a little bit out of control here already, and you can get 4 creatures, and you probably need to get 4 creatures,
Yes,
but
and
then you get to give them the war leader's call back, and you don't even do anything about the most worrying threats.
yes, because a Knight Errant of Eos will still be standing, as will the large flyer and Warden of the Sky. So we will see Imidane's Recruiter being able to come down and pump both of those and get in. And Tess is at 16. Oh, there's Protect the
Mm.
Negotiator to hold up
Oh,
just in case anything goes wrong.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's such a great. I love DMU, by the way. I mean, I know we were kind of like dunking on Domain a little bit, but I really think DMU was a great set. And Protect Negotiators, just like these off-color kicker cards are so sweet, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. We see Innkeeper's Talent, the draw from Tess, being at 6 life, knows about the Imidane's Recruiter in hand, knows about the case of the Gateway Express, so would be able to play a blocker even if she had one. This is not a hole I think Tess is going to be able
Yeah.
to dig herself out of. So,
Wow, it's so tough. It's so tough here for Tess. That opening hand with the 3 choking miasmas, it was a risky keep. Totally see why she did it, right? Like, there was probably, I mean, there's obviously enough black sources in the deck that you're going to draw that second black source early enough most of the time. And it's unfortunately just not working out here for Tess. She's scooping it up. Aspi with the reverse sweep, winning 2 games on the trot to take this one down. And wow, Nicole, are you a convert to the
right? A
to the
Jeskai
Jeskai?
Convoke believer. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess, in game one, I was when we were watching and I was just like, stuck on the red white land, has a spyglass siren in hand. Like, this is what I
Mm.
thought the deck would do. And then just
Yeah.
games 2 and 3, it was like boom, boom, boom. Although I will say I'm gonna credit the pilot 100% on both of those wins. Tess playing an absolute there was an absolute masterclass on how sorry, it's Aspi was playing an absolute masterclass on how to play that Jeskai Convoke deck. Was I could see that she's had reps with this deck. Like,
Oh,
that was
100%.
so
Yeah.
well played. So very, very impressive. So
Very impressive.
Aspi has made me a believer.
Okay, all right. Well, we take this. And shout out to Tess as well. Honestly, like the Golgari deck, there are a lot of decisions. Like that opening hand, I don't think. I think it. 99% of Magic players probably keep that in the matchup. So I would have kept it, and I think, um, very good use of resources throughout. Really did a great job in the earlier games. Game 2 was very close. So
Yes, it
great stuff
was.
from Tess as well.
Yeah, sometimes you make the right decision, it just doesn't work out.
Right.
That's
All right,
magic.
Nicole. Before we go into the last one, I have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
What what poster do you have above your bed?
Okay. So, well, okay, so I don't have one in my room per se, but in the office, we have a little poster, it's probably about this big, of
Mhm.
Ashiok, and my
Cool.
2-year-old says it's Batman. Walks over and goes, "I'm Batman." Does the Batman voice and everything. Just low goes,
Oh my
"I'm
goodness.
Batman." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, kid."
Oh,
'Cause, I mean, Batman's cool, Ashiok is cool,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm there. It's just like that dark, foreboding, like
Yeah,
spooky,
yeah. I
like
get
sort of
it with
in
the
the
like this kind
shadows,
of
right?
head.
With the
Yeah,
little thing and the mask, like well, I
yeah.
mean, Ashiok's not the mask, but like you can only see this part of
Yeah,
the
the
face.
lack of face or whatever.
So
Yeah.
right. So I'm just like, all right, Ashiok, Batman. I don't think Ashiok would be offended. So
No.
I wish somebody would say I was as cool as Batman. So
Yeah, like that's that's incredible. You really got to get a video of your kid doing that. That's hilarious. Oh, all right. I mean, Ashok is a great choice. Lovely, great Dimir card. So we know whose side you're really on, Nicole.
yeah,
Two down. Let's bring on the final feature match of the day, of the week, even. We have Freddie, Mono Fred Aggro. They have not brought Mono Red, but they have brought Domain Ramp. Didn't add the Dustmon cards just yet. Not yet, because it's hard. Wild cards are tough, but this deck is very, very sweet. And definitely does the thing. And for those people who are mourning still up the beanstalks, lost in modern, well, you know, and by people I mean me and probably like at least 2 other people. Um, this is where you can still do it. Up the beanstalk in domain, in the kind of previous quote unquote version with the heaped harvest, instead of the new overlord that you were talking about. And Freddie is going up against Gruul Aggro, I think, in the hands of Noto. So this, tell me about this matchup, Nicole.
I feel like this matchup, because you would look at this and go, oh my gosh, Gruul Prowess is just going to absolutely stomp on a domain.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just
exactly what I'm
it's this
thinking.
clunky domain deck. And I will say that I feel like in game one, it's definitely a little tougher for domain with cards like Jace the Perfected Mind in the main deck. You don't really want cards like Heaped Harvest even. Like I know it gains you a little life, but usually 3 life doesn't matter too much in these games.
Right.
But having 3 temporary lockdown in the main, if Freddie is able to get to Archangel, or is able to kind of spot removal with like the get lost, 2 get lost in the main, 3 temporary lockdown, and then obviously there are 4 of the leyline bindings. So it depends on how much cheap removal Freddie sees, and I feel like this matchup could definitely be closer to a coin flip than you would think. Even though Gruul Prowess can definitely come out of the gate and just kill you. I think that
Okay.
if Freddie is able to get down some sort of early binding or an early sweeper in like temporary lockdown or something like that, or build up to a sunfall quickly, then we've got a game. However, if Noto comes out of the gate and is just like, Swiss spear into, like slick shot show off, shock you, royal treatment, I guess we're dead. So
Right.
but it's definitely a lot closer of a matchup than I think it looks like from the outside.
Okay, well, let's find out as we go down to our final feature of the evening. Noto against Freddie, and Freddie with Double Beanstalk Archangel Atraxa in hand. Doesn't have a lot of that interaction that you were talking about.
No, it doesn't. Having double beanstalk though, it's a little hard to show.
It's tempting.
We were just being able to surveil. Well, that's one of the new tools that Domain has also gotten recently is those surveil lands. And I think that's a
Oh.
totally reasonable mulligan here as we see, Freddie going to 5. But I think that arguably this 5 might even be better than that 7, knowing to have the temporary lockdown in hand.
Right, that makes sense. And there's another beanstalk anyway, so
Yeah, right?
we're not gonna be beanless for this particular game. And Freddie. Oh, by the way, I love that we have their testing team names up here. Freddie
Ah,
repping Vraska and the Innkeepers. What a great name.
sounds like a
Didn't
band.
it does sound like a band. I want to see that band. Yeah. Okay, and up to Beanstalk Binding Leyline Binding is still costing 3 mana currently. And Nicole, let's talk about this. How much of a loss were the triomes going?
Honestly, I feel like they weren't as much of a loss as they should have been. I feel like
Really?
I feel like with the surveil lands coming in, having the land types, being able to surveil is a big deal in these decks. Not obviously not for the graveyard, but just being able to filter your draws to get to what you want. And then I know that there's no Overlord in this deck, but Overlord being able to give domain so early is such a big deal. I feel like losing the triomes didn't hurt as bad as I think it should have.
Yeah, you're right. With the Overlords especially, I definitely agree with that. But we're going to see Freddie go down to 11 from Swift Spear, Ember Heart Challenger, and Shock. Temporary Lockdown takes care of all of those things, as well as the Beanstalk. And Noto is going to play a face down card, which there are not that many of these.
Right. I love when that happens and you go, I wonder what it is. Now there are 2 copies of Fugitive Codebreaker in Noto's deck. That is the 2 mana Prowess Haste 2/1 disguise. You can flip it up by 6, but that cost is reduced by 1 for each instant and sorcery card in the graveyard. And when it turns face up, you get to discard your hand and draw 3. So a lot of words on that card, but it has worked very well in a lot of these Gruul decks. Normally people play 1 to 2 of them.
Okay, all right, it's a Bedlam Reveler.
Yeah.
This category of cards is they're just Bedlam Revelers. Everyone knows it. Like they give them different names sometimes. you know, but that's the space that they're in. And Noto coming down with another hasty threat, the Ember Heart Challenger Part 2. Freddie's gonna have to use some of this removal.
Yeah, and we see Freddie going with the Leyline Binding, which I like here. There is no indication that it will be any cheaper next turn, and taking care of the creature without ward still gives Noto. They don't quite. She doesn't have the opportunity to turn it up quite yet, but is getting close. As we see Brushland here, actually not the worst draw. Archangel could be cast, but this is plenty for Get Lost and a ward as well.
Yeah, the Archangel, like if the ward wasn't there, Archangel would have been so sweet that turn. For sure.
Right. And I like this turn up here. We'll see a couple of spells actually being discarded on Noto's side. Gonna get in with the 2/1. No longer has ward.
No, yeah. Very importantly, can be targeted without paying extra. Here's a Traxer. And honestly, Freddie might have stabilized here. Like the board is clear. Noto has 2 cards in hand, pitched a Monstrous Spear, so you know, like what does that tell you like about what she was looking for?
Right. Domain is the big thing in this matchup is Domain going to be able to keep the board clear? Is the Gruul Prowess player going to be able to protect their creatures? And the answer to that so far was no. So we see Freddie really in this game at 11 life with a life linker in the air. That is not the easiest for Noto to remove either. But as we see, a royal treatment is revealed on the top of Noto's deck, but I mean, Atraxa is looming.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know what else has lifelink? Yeah, that's right. They put that word on her as well.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh my.
I love this. But get this slick shot down. That came on this turn, I think.
It
Do
did.
some mapping. The audacity of it all.
Wow, and Might of the Meek. So just a handful of gas from Noto's side. So that Fugitive Codebreaker definitely delivered some values to her. We'll see if the Slick Shot show off is most likely going to trade here as we see get in for 8 trample damage. We'll see if Noto has anything left in hand and a shock. So
Wait.
that's a
Hello.
lot of
Wait.
damage.
Okay. All right. But it wasn't lethal just yet.
Not quite.
Oh, and that's not a land for a track. So it is another removal spell. Freddie is at 6. Oh, yeah, you're right, of course, because the Angel gained 3 life. So it was pretty far from lethal, probably. Although, having said that, 6 is now looking a little dodge.
Yes, as we see, Freddie's big job here was to keep the battlefield clear, and both Questing Druid and Fugitive Codebreaker hit a lot of gas for Noto. So she is just going off, going to be priced into using that Get Lost here, I think, on Freddie's side.
Oh, look at this. Passing priority.
Yeah.
Freddie! This is... I love it when players do this. Oh, just want to try and get that last... God. Oh, but is it royal treatment?
Oh. If it's royal treatment, Freddie is... Oh, it is royal treatment. So...
Ouch.
That's tough because I think Freddie there, they were... When they saw the pause, it's either a protection spell like royal treatment, but it could also be a shock. And if it's a shock, then Freddie just dies. If they let so you're kind of taking that coin flip and saying, hey, I saw a royal treatment in the bin. I also saw a shock in the bin. I think it's probably, one or the other. So they took their chance. And unfortunately for Freddie, it was a royal treatment to end game 1 in favor of our Gruul player.
Yeah, so I mean, that was pretty interesting, right? Like there was so much to and fro, lots of temporary lockdowns. Freddie did a great job keeping the board clear, as you mentioned. Ultimately, Noto with the prowess, with the questing druid, the extra cards did manage to get there. Now this is a domain hand.
Yes, this is literally you're looking at domain. It's like Tron.
Natural domain. Yeah. Oh, and here is, that domain hand definitely did have to go, but this one is looking pretty nice. There's temporary lockdown, hard migration gets the second white source. There's a gain some life as well.
Yeah, that life cushion from herd migration is very nice here. While I don't think it's as big of a deal from a card like Heaped Harvest, having it be on herd migration for the 2 mana here, being able to do that and then go into a temporary lockdown feels pretty good for Freddie. As we see Noto just gotta go into setup mode. I love that.
Yeah, the plot on the slick shot is pretty sweet. Like, just it's kind of like what we saw in the last match, right? With Aspi and holding on to the gleeful demolitions. Like, you want as much as possible to do all the things you can in one turn to minimize the interaction that your opponent can really have.
Right, because Noto knows that cards like temporary lockdown are going to be plentiful in Freddie's deck post sideboard. You know, going to be expecting all 4 to be in the main board and among other things. So, but we'll see. Urabrask Forge, definitely a beater in this matchup.
Yeah, that is a great card. And you know what Get Lost doesn't target? Like, the one thing it doesn't target is Artifact.
Yes, and we see temporary lockdown also at Urabrask's Forge at 3 mana. Temporary lockdown can't touch that either.
Right. It really sits at this beautiful intersection of kind of getting around all of the different answers that Freddie has. And I think Noto actually even said in her, player questions that this was really one of the key cards that gives her the sticking power into something like Domain. Question Druid is going to come down. Oh, was that Pick Your Poison?
I believe so. There are multiple. There are 3 Pick Your Poisons in Noto's sideboard, so I'm not surprised to see those to deal with things like Archangel of Wrath or Atraxa. So this Cavern of Souls naming Angel, though, giving this Archangel of Wrath a target with that Questing Druid feels great from Freddie's side. Being able to at least do something rather than going face, even though that still feels good to gain a couple of life here for Freddie. We'll see Freddie happily taking care of a threat from Noto's side and being able to put a decent sized life linking body out onto the battlefield.
Oh, second Urabrask Forge for Noto. And yeah, I mean, these little tramplers, not that big right now. And Noto's actually going to send them in.
Oh, I love that.
I mean, that's a message.
Right. That screams like I have monstrous rage in my hand, or something along those lines for sure. We'll see.
All right.
Backing off. I mean, if you're Freddie and Noto just gets in there, I don't know if I block or not. I'm not sure. I mean, you didn't play the Archangel of Wrath to not block, but at the same time, it's a little scary.
I think you would have to at least block the small one, maybe. I don't know. It's so tough. But then if you're blocking one, I don't know. Like, the opportunity cost there's a lot to think about.
Yes.
Magic is hard.
Magic is a difficult game to play for sure. Now we see Archangel of Wrath not attacking. So I would love to see a block here from Freddie this time around, because if you're not going to attack with it, I would hope that they would want to block with it. So we'll see, as these Forge tokens are getting huge now.
Well, this is the problem, right? I mean, like, yeah, I could trade this with a 4/1. It just feels so bad. It feels so bad to trade.
Right.
And Forge doesn't even care about the Archangel. Like, these guys don't stick around. They're not going to make targets for further Archangels.
Here for a good time, not a long time.
That is, sadly, I think the way that Freddie is going right now, though. Temporary lockdown number 3, not helpful. The first 2 already rotting in hand. Freddie's still at 18, though.
Yeah, Freddie is at a comfortable life total still. These forge tokens are getting pretty big, as we'll see a 5-1 and a 3-1 come out this turn. Oh, but Ember Heart, Noto is ready to start unloading her hand here.
Oh god, yeah, here we go. Slick shot show off as well. That was found off. The Might and the Meek, that also has haste. Here come the elementals. The team is coming in, and Freddie, just with the lone Archangel of Wrath, has to put it in front of something here. And looks like it's going to be the trade with the biggest of the threats as things stand.
Yes, and we see another Might of the Meek coming out of Noto's hand. Now, I love this attack. I love that it looked like Noto was kind of sandbagging her threats, sandbagging her spells, being like, there is going to be one big, huge, explosive turn, going to price Freddie into blocking, and then going to just explode everything. As we see Freddie definitely flooding a bit this match.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate here. Temporary lockdown can take care of these two small creatures, but the Urabras Forge, they cannot be stopped. And Freddie, I think they're big enough, right? That's going to be like a 6 and a 4, I think, this turn. Oh, and Monastery Sister as well. Why not?
Why
Get
not?
in there. Wow, and that is going to do it. Noto 2-0 with the win with Gruul Prowess against the main ramp. And you know, Nicole, you were right. It was closer than you might imagine. The temporary lockdowns, very helpful, you know, all the get loss, all that removal. But ultimately, I mean, game one, I think Noto really did a great job of kind of getting back into that one.
No, navigating just beautifully the matchup, knowing what needed to be done, bringing the cards. Urbresk Forge, obviously MVP there in game number 2, not being able to go under a temporary lockdown. Freddie not seeing anything else to take care of it, like a ley line binding. So they, were kind of hard stuck. That both of those Urbresk Forge did a lot of work there, but just very well navigated by Noto. Just knowing what to do in the matchup, where the pressure needed to be, and when. Not just kind of, playing a creature on 2, playing a protection spell, like knowing how to, you sandbag the threats and then just kind of like throw them all out there. As we saw tonight, honestly, all 4 of our matchups, I feel like were just a great class on how to play 4 different aggro decks in
4 different aggro decks, yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a Dimir tempo deck, I guess, that Lily was playing earlier, like mid-range, but it had
all right, Nicole. All
1/1s
right.
and 2/1s.
Since
all
you're
right?
the one who brought it up, what does tempo mean?
I
Let's go. Come on.
I feel like it's a tempo deck when you're controlling the tempo of the game. Like when you're not controlling the game, but like you control the tempo that the game goes at, whether it be aggressive or more controlling. So, and I think it differs from game to game. So I think that's what tempo means, because
I know, I get it. It's subtle.
Right. It doesn't
It's
mean
nuanced.
like, because it can be an aggressive, like you can beat down with your, your Spyglass Sirens, your Deep Cavern Bats, and your Gixes, or you can hang back, cast some removal spells, hold up your counter spells, and kind of wait for that spot to get in. So that's what I think tempo is, I think.
Okay. You did it. Honestly, you did a very admirable job, I think. Having been put on the spot with the hardest question in Magic. So
I'm pretty sure.
I love it. No, I love it. I love it. I actually love tempo decks as well. So, if you do like aggro decks, you like small creatures, this standard is a great time to be doing that. Plenty of different things available that you can do. I don't know if Toxic is still around, but maybe that's still alive. I guess they lost the March combo, so I guess that's pretty bad for them. But I mean, there's a lot of different things you could be doing, and if you like other styles of Magic, well, I hope you like Golgari.
Or Atraxa.
Or Atraxa. Oh, who doesn't?
Those are your choices.
Who doesn't? All right. Thank you so much, Nicole. This has been fantastic. It's been a really joyful time.
It has.
Getting to do this with you again, the OG VMLers. Thank you so much to another OG VMLer, Phoebe, our producer behind the scenes, who has really been with us since season 1, taught herself how to do everything. Without her, like, this would absolutely not be possible without her. Thank you so much, Phoebe. Thank you to all of our players for being so wonderful, for changing the way that competitive Magic looks, for being so happy and vibrantly themselves everywhere they go. Thank you to Wizard of the Coast for sponsoring us. Thank you to our lovely audience and community for hanging out with us. And we will see you back here next week, Sunday, 3 p.m. Pacific, for season 13, week number 5. So we'll see you next time.